I thought I could touch the sun.
Why have humans always looked up at the sky with such longing? Why do we keep reaching for that wide open space above us? It's a question worth sitting with for a moment. Across every culture, every era, every corner of history, people have looked up and imagined what it would feel like to leave the ground behind, to rise above the noise, the walls, the limits of ordinary life. Maybe it comes down to something simple, the desire to be free. But sometimes, that desire leads somewhere unexpected. And sometimes, the very thing we reach for is the thing that brings us down. Today's story is about exactly that. A master craftsman and his son dreamed of freedom and chased it all the way to the sun. This isn't just an old myth collecting dust in a history book. It's a story that has outlasted empires, inspired artists, and kept people thinking for over 2,000 years. And when you really sit with it, you start to realize why. Because it's not really about wings and wax. It's about ambition. It's about the gap between what a parent warns and what a child hears. It's about what happens when the feeling of freedom becomes so overwhelming that everything else disappears. These are questions that don't go away. They show up in boardrooms, in relationships, in every moment where someone is deciding how far is too far. Long ago, on the island of Crete, there lived a powerful king named Minos. He ruled with an iron grip over one of the most advanced civilizations in the ancient world. Crete was a place of wealth, naval power, and cultural sophistication. But King Minos had a secret he wanted kept buried. In his court served a man named Daedalus, and calling him a craftsman barely does him justice. He was the greatest inventor and architect of his time. According to legend, he was originally from Athens, a city known even then for its thinkers and makers. But his reputation had spread far beyond its walls, and it was that reputation that brought him to Crete. The things Daedalus built left people speechless. Moving statues that seemed almost alive. Complex mechanical devices, unlike anything anyone had seen before. He had a mind that worked differently from other people, always pushing past what was considered possible. But his most famous creation, the one that would define his legacy forever, was a massive labyrinth built by direct order of King Minos. This was no ordinary maze. It was a masterpiece of misdirection, a structure so deeply confusing that once you stepped inside, finding your way out again felt nearly impossible. It was designed with one purpose: to hold a terrifying creature known as the Minotaur, a beast with the body of a man and the head of a bull, born from a strange and dark chapter in the royal family's history that Minos desperately wanted to keep hidden. The maze was so intricate, so perfectly engineered, that even Daedalus himself once said he nearly got lost inside it. That detail alone tells you something about the scale of what he built. But even the most brilliant people can find themselves in the wrong place, at the wrong time. The Athenian hero Theseus had sailed to Crete, entered the labyrinth, defeated the Minotaur, and walked back out alive. Nobody was supposed to be able to do that. The fact that he did sent a shockwave through the palace. Theseus had managed it, with help from Ariadne, the king's own daughter, who had given him a thread to follow back through the maze. And she had gotten that idea, that crucial piece of information, directly from Daedalus. The king was furious. The secrets of his palace had been exposed. His greatest shame had been confronted, and the man responsible for giving the enemy the key to his most carefully guarded secret was someone he had trusted, someone who had eaten at his table and built wonders for his kingdom. That kind of betrayal, whether Daedalus meant it as such or not, was not something King Minos could overlook. He had Daedalus and his son, Icarus, thrown into the very labyrinth Daedalus had built. There was a cold irony in that. The man who designed the prison was now its prisoner, trapped deep inside that dark, winding maze. The two of them had no obvious way out. The walls rose high around them on every side, Through the gaps, they could see the blue sea, stretching out in the distance, and above it, a vast open sky. That view must have made it worse. The freedom right there in front of them, completely out of reach. The land routes were blocked by the maze itself, and by the king's guards posted at every exit. And even if they somehow made it outside the labyrinth, every port on the island was sealed, and every ship carefully watched. Minos controlled the sea. He controlled the land. There was no clear path forward, and every day that passed made escape feel less realistic. Daedalus spent day after day turning the problem over in his mind. He was not a man who gave up easily. His whole life had been built around finding solutions that nobody else could see. He watched his son Icarus moving through the dim corridors of the maze, the anxiety visible on the boy's face. And he knew he had to find a way. For any other person, this might have been the end of the road. But Daedalus kept thinking. He kept looking. And eventually, something clicked. If the land was blocked and the sea was locked down, that left one direction: up. The sky was the one thing the king couldn't control. No guard could be posted there. No ship could patrol it. Birds passed freely overhead every single day, crossing from one world to the next, without asking anyone's permission. That was the answer. It had to be. So Daedalus got to work. He began quietly collecting feathers from birds that passed through the maze, sorting them carefully by size, shaping them with the steady hands of someone who had spent a lifetime building things that actually worked. He used wax and thread to bind the feathers together, layer by layer, assembling 2 pairs of large wings, one for himself and one for Icarus. It was painstaking work, done in secret, with whatever materials he could find. He worked with focus and purpose, thinking only of getting his son out of there. Every feather he placed was a small act of defiance against the walls, closing in around them. Those wings were more than just an escape tool. They were the last real hope either of them had. And for Daedalus, they were also proof of something. He had always believed that a sharp enough mind, given enough time and determination, can find a way through almost anything. When the wings were finally ready, Daedalus strapped them onto Icarus and looked him in the eye. You could imagine the weight of that moment. A father, hands still covered in wax, staring at his son, and knowing that what comes next will either save them both or end everything. "Listen to me carefully," he said. "Don't fly too high. The heat from the sun will melt the wax, and the wings will fall apart. And don't fly too low either. The moisture from the sea will weigh the feathers down. Stay in the middle. Follow me closely." It was a practical warning, built from everything. Daedalus understood about how the wings worked, but it was also something more than that. It was a father telling his son that freedom has edges, that knowing where those edges are and choosing to respect them is not weakness. It is wisdom. Icarus nodded. He understood. Or at least, in that moment, he believed he did. The moment came. They stepped out into the open air, spread their wings, and lifted off. Just like that, the labyrinth fell away beneath them. The sky opened up around them in every direction. Sunlight, open air, the whole island of Crete shrinking below. The ocean stretched out to the horizon. The wind moved through the feathers with a sound neither of them had ever heard before. For Icarus, it was unlike anything he had ever felt. Every second they had spent locked in that dark maze, every moment of doubt and fear, it all dissolved in an instant. This was what it felt like to be free, truly free. The kind of free that fills your whole body and makes every warning you've ever been given feel like it belongs to a different world. He climbed higher, and then higher still, not out of recklessness at first, but because the feeling kept building, and he wanted more of it. His father called out to him from below. His voice carried upward on the wind, but the words were hard to make out. Icarus was already too far above, already too deep inside the feeling to pull himself back. The sun looked close, impossibly close, and for a moment, It probably felt like it was calling him toward it. The wax began to weaken, slowly at first, just at the edges of the wings where the heat hit hardest. Then faster. Feathers started pulling loose. One or two, then a handful, then more. Icarus felt the wings shifting beneath him, but couldn't understand what was happening fast enough. By the time the full weight of the situation landed on him, the wings were already giving out. There was nothing he could do. He fell, and the sea came up to meet him. Daedalus watched from a distance, powerless. He had seen the feathers coming loose. He had called out, but he was too far away, and it was over too quickly. Icarus hit the water and was gone. The sea that claimed him came to be called the Icarian Sea, a name it still carries today, a small but permanent reminder that someone once flew there and fell. What happened to Icarus isn't just a cautionary tale about a young person who made a mistake in a moment of excitement. It runs deeper than that. Think about what this story is actually showing us. Daedalus, the father, the architect, the man who had spent his entire life mastering his craft, was the one who flew correctly. He followed his own instructions. He kept to the middle path. He made it. And Icarus, young, full of life, experiencing freedom for the very first time, let that feeling pull him past the point of no return. The myth doesn't frame this as stupidity. It frames it as something far more human. The rush of a new experience. The way joy can crowd out caution. The gap that sometimes exists between knowing something and feeling it in the moment when it matters most. The ancient Greeks had a word for the kind of overreach Icarus showed. Hubris. It referred to a kind of excessive pride or arrogance, the belief that you could push past the natural order of things without consequence. In Greek thinking, hubris wasn't just a personality flaw. It was seen as a kind of disorder, a failure to understand your place in the larger structure of the world. And the myths are full of people who suffered for it. What makes the story of Icarus feel different from many of those tales is that he wasn't arrogant in a cruel or calculated way. He was just young and free and overwhelmed by a feeling he had never had before. That's what makes it sting, because most of us can recognize something of ourselves in that.
True freedom isn't about how high you can go. It's about knowing where the line is and choosing to respect it. That's the part of Daedalus's warning that so often gets overlooked. He didn't just say don't fly too high. He also said don't fly too low. Both extremes lead to failure. Flying too high burns the wings. Flying too low drowns them. The only path that works is the one in the middle. The one that requires constant awareness, constant adjustment, constant discipline. Freedom without that kind of awareness isn't really freedom at all. It's just a longer fall.
The story of Icarus still resonates today because that tension never really goes away. We live in a world that constantly tells us to aim higher, push harder, go further, and there's real value in that. Ambition is not the enemy. Daedalus himself was one of the most ambitious people in any mythology, and he survived. But ambition without self-awareness, without any sense of limit, is where things start to break down. Every generation faces its own version of the same test, and the warning that comes with it. No matter how easy it is to ignore in the moment, when the sky is wide open and the feeling is overwhelming, always matters. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe. Your support keeps this channel going, and there's a lot more to explore. See you in the next one.